time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
On a Tuesday, and great to have you with us. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes of this broadcast. We are guest-free for the hour today, so that just means it's Sam Yarnell and myself entertaining you. A lot of NFL to get to. But also a couple interesting stories outside of the NFL that I want to talk about as well. And we'll do that as we go through the show today. And there he is, Sam Yarnell. Falcons hang on to beat the Raiders in what was the closer of the two Monday Night Football games that we got last night. And look, I mean, the Falcons win, but there is an enormous amount of concern right now for this team when it comes to Kirk Cousins and the fact they're just not getting a lot out of him. And this is a prolonged period of bad play for Kirk Cousins. And this Falcons team is still 7-7. It feels a lot like last year when Desmond Ridder was the starting quarterback of this team. When you start to talk about sort of where this squad is. And I mean, I don't know where you go if this thing ends the way it looks like it's going to, which is them missing out on the playoffs and then, you know, them trying to figure out sort of, all right, we just signed Kirk Cousins to this massive contract. We're paying him all this money. I don't know where you go as an organization because, look, the Broncos were fortunate enough to be able to get out of the Russell Wilson deal. And there's a whole bunch of factors that go into that in terms of how Sean Payton handled Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was clearly better than I think a lot of us knew coming out of that situation. But in the case of Kirk Cousins, there has been a dramatic drop-off here coming off the injury last year. He has not assimilated to this roster and this team. And the prevailing question here, Sam, is what do you do if you are the Atlanta Falcons?
Oh, Jason Page, a moment of silence for the Hall of Fame bag getter, Kirk Cousins. Kirk, you may have secured your last bag, buddy. I don't know if there's any coming back from this one. This feels like a Michael Penix team. It feels like they'll find a way to move off of the Kirk Cousins salary for next year.
Find a way is tough. That's tough.
Well, no, you find a team that doesn't necessarily want to win, right? Because, you know, we're smart enough to know that there are about 7 GMs in the NFL that think that they can win the Super Bowl that year. And the other 25 think, great, cool if we make the playoffs, but we're just playing for draft position. Kirk Cousins will go quarterback one of those 25 teams, right? I don't know. Probably not the Browns. They probably can't keep both that and the Deshaun contract on the book at the same time. But pick your middling team with a questionable quarterback situation. Maybe it's the Raiders, honestly. Maybe it's the team they played against last night. I do think Kirk Cousins will be off this team come the offseason, and this feels like Michael Penix is getting ready to take the reins over for this team starting next season. And, you know, credit to the Falcons because honestly, we ripped them, Jason Page, so much when they drafted Michael Penix in the first round.
Yeah.
And my goodness, what an insurance policy that turned out to be. And you know,
I didn't rip him.
Nobody knows.
I didn't rip him for taking Penix. I mean, I don't.
I think the media generally did, though, right? It was not where he was supposed to go. The Falcons were supposedly not in the quarterback market after having given the post Achilles Kirk Cousins all of this money. But I think it's interesting when we think about the logistics of the draft going forward and whether or not we see this become more of a commonality. You also don't know, like, right, what did the people inside that Falcons building know about Kirk's physical shape that could have potentially led them to think about drafting Michael Penix potentially more than they would have had he not had the same, you know, things that we've seen lingering throughout this season. It's an interesting dynamic, but yeah, I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to get another $100 million contract.
I wonder if it's this right shoulder injury that's sort of been hampering him here that has something to do with what's going on here. Just so people know, the cap, if he is cut in 2025 before June 1st, dead cap $65 million. If they do it before June 1st of 2026, $25 million. In 2027, $12.5 million. Just so people kind of understand. His cap number this year is $25 million. His cap number next year is $40 million, and his cap number for the last 2 years of this deal are $57.5 million. So they're going to have to find a willing dance partner. Look, was it you I was talking to yesterday that said the Giants should take Travis Hunter? Was it you I was talking? Yeah, I don't know if we had this conversation on air or off because
that was only if they wouldn't get the first overall pick.
No, I know. But I'm just saying if you make the argument, well, maybe the Giants would be, because we were talking, if the Giants go that route, then you go veteran quarterback for next season. Sam Darnold obviously will be part of that conversation.
Kirk Cousins better than Sam Darnold though. When we're talking about like if you want,
I don't know right now. Not coming off the Achilles, and if there's something wrong there, I don't know about that.
Well, but on the other side of that,
I get that Sam Darnold. I get it. Sam Darnold is in a great system right now.
Right. Let's not give him too much credit for having one of the better offensive coaches of this generation.
I agree. No. I don't disagree with that.
Which actually, wait a second. I'm so glad you brought up Sam Darnold, because look at the copious amounts of success that Sam Darnold is having in Minnesota, and look at how much Kirk Cousins is struggling outside of Minnesota. This is not a Kirk Cousins segment. This is a Kevin O'Connell segment. That guy does not get enough credit. He can do anything with anyone, and we all thought that, oh wow, Kirk Cousins, he's like a middle-of-the-road quarterback, and Kevin O'Connell makes that team really good with a middle-of-the-road quarterback. No, he was bad. Sam Darnold's bad, but they go there, and all of a sudden they're amazing.
Might be something to that. We'll get to the Vikings coming up in just a few minutes here. Raiders, by the way, staying the course, doing what they need to do from a tanking perspective. So you know, if you're a fan of the Raiders potentially getting Shedeur Sanders and the top pick in the draft, then I guess it's a happy day for you. By the way, I mean, it should not be overlooked here. Falcons' final three here. Giants, Commanders, Panthers. 9-8 is not out of the realm of possibility for that team. And then you look at the Buccaneers. And for Tampa Bay here over the last three, they get Cowboys, Panthers, Saints. Very interesting. And the Falcons own the tiebreaker. Keep that in mind. There are teams in the NFC just praying the Falcons get in over the Buccaneers, because you can mollywop the Falcons. We're coming back. Coming up in 10 minutes, we'll get you up to date on some injury notes. Lions getting hit by the injury bug. Whew. Wait until you hear what Dan Campbell said on a Detroit sports radio station on Tuesday morning. Fanboys will fanboy. Sam Yarnell, the Vikings, in the second part of the Monday Night Football doubleheader, get the win over the meandering Chicago Bears in rather convincing fashion. Caleb Williams is going to get killed, by the way. I mean that figuratively speaking, not literally. He's going to get killed. I mean, this is not NCAA football. This is not a video game where you can just run around like Tecmo Bowl back in the day and run back 50 yards and then heave one, 70 yards down the field. I don't know what he's doing back there. And maybe it's just self-preservation and trying to protect himself and trying to extend plays. What a lost season. And again, it is, I've said this so many times, in life, sometimes it just matters, are you born on first base? Are you born on second base? Are you born with a great upbringing? Are you born with a bad upbringing? And his NFL birth in Chicago, it is something that is going to hurt him in the long term. And I'm hopeful he can, because I have no animus against the guy. I thought he was going to be a successful NFL quarterback. And he could still wind up being a successful NFL quarterback, Sam. But there's no question right now that he's behind the 8 ball after year one. And again, largely because of the organization and the way it's run. After year one. And look, we can talk about the Vikings all day. This is a game they should win, and they did. But the questions remain about it's the big question mark is what will be of Caleb Williams after this first year that's, kind of going up in flames here.
Yeah, so as much as I think that there's a lot of fact to the Bears having done a lot of bad for Caleb Williams this year, that is true. I think everybody who said that Caleb Williams should hands down be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft after the last season he had at USC needs to seriously revisit how they analyze NFL draft picks, because all signs, as I stated on this show, all signs were pointing to the second this kid faces adversity, it's not going to go well. And he's 0-7 on the road through his first 7 career games on the road. Those are when you face the most adversity, road games in the NFL. I would argue that there's little more adversity non-playoff wise in sport than a road game in the NFL, just because of the depth that they each carry. Caleb Williams is showing you, as he showed you last night, that any ounce of adversity against the guy, he kind of turns into a pumpkin. Like, it's not Anthony Richardson, where he can handle the adversity, he'll make a mistake or two, but he'll also keep you competitive in these games. And there'll be a game where he'll go Jameis Winston and throw for 250 yards on 15 attempts and throw 3 interceptions as well. The thing about Caleb Williams is when he faces this adversity, he just shuts down. There's no lay it on the line. And we saw it in the Pac-12, moment of silence for the Pac-12. And we're seeing it in the NFL. Quite frankly, this is just a quarterback who is not built for an NFL level of adversity right now. Now, is that something that he could overcome through the years? Maybe. It's pretty hard, but we've seen people do it before. I just think that right now, the whole Caleb Williams experiment and draft is not looking good in retrospect.
Yeah, I won't go crazy after 1 year judging them, in terms of judging the draft. I think they've lost 7 or 8 games by 1 score, by the way. I mean, they've lost 8 in a row. But if you look at them this year, 1, 2, actually, it's the number of games they've had that are 1 score or less. I mean, they've played a ton of close games this year. And what do you need in close games? You either, and I've said this a million times before, you either need a quarterback that's over the moon that could elevate the guys around him, or you need a receiving core that could do that. He definitely does not have the latter. Let's be honest. And he does not have an offensive line that can protect him. And I think that is something that needs to be addressed when you talk about this team and what they could potentially try to upgrade in the offseason, besides hopefully getting a brand new head coach, which they're obviously going to be doing. So the Bears are a bit of a mess. I'm not ready to dump Caleb Williams on the side of the road after 1 season, though. And I don't think it would be fair to do so.
I just think this is interesting because the whole wide receiving and skill players around him thing is one that we continue to see come up. I would argue that Caleb Williams, of the 4 main rookie quarterbacks that we're talking about that are starters in the NFL, Caleb Williams has by far the most skill talent around him. DJ Moore, former All-Pro contender. Keenan Allen, perennial Pro Bowler. Rome Odunze, top 15 pick in the NFL draft. Cole Kmet, top 12 tight end in the NFL. DeAndre Swift, 2 years removed from being a top 5 back in the NFL.
Gotta have time to throw to these guys, Sam. I mean,
but the Washington offensive line is worse than the Chicago offensive line, and Jaden Daniels can figure it out.
David Carr, the biggest thing that happened to David Carr that destroyed his career. Couldn't protect him. And they couldn't protect him in Houston. And it was disastrous for his career. So I mean, it matters. And look, some of it is overcoming adversity, and I think it's fair to look at him and say, look, you've got to just figure out a way to get it done, especially when you're talking about as many close losses as they have had. And as much as, we can get on the now former head coach of that team and talk about what happened in those closing seconds of the loss against Green Bay that they should have won. I mean, a lot of that's got to fall on Caleb Williams too, who's looking at the clock right in front of him. So we'll see. I mean, look, I feel bad that we spent the whole segment talking about the Bears, but look, this is a game the Vikings should win. And now we can start to have a conversation about the Vikings because the injuries the Lions are facing, which we'll get to here in just a second. I mean, it is wide open in the NFC now when you're talking about what the Lions are facing from an injury standpoint. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a couple minutes as we update some of the injury news going on around the NFL. As we continue on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap, Patrick Mahomes, Geno Smith, the Lions. You'll hear from Dan Campbell. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. Coming up in 10 minutes, Michael Vick, college football head coach. We'll get into it. Let's talk some injuries, Sam Yarnell. Some injury updates. Start with Patrick Mahomes. High ankle sprain, still undetermined as to whether or not he will play this weekend. Man, every time I look at that hit, I can't figure out how he wasn't more seriously injured. I mean, my God. He got absolutely blasted. But we'll see if he plays this week. I'd still be shocked. And maybe they're just hanging on to this as long as they can to try and, create the illusion of deception or whatever it may be. But I would be shocked if he's playing this week. Again, if you're going to have him sit out a game, have him sit out the home game this weekend and give Carson Wentz the best chance you can, with a full week here, Sam. That would be where I go. But you seem to think he might play.
I think, I did until I looked at the spread for the game. Once I looked at that, it kind of became clear to me.
What's the number right now?
I don't think he's going to play.
What's the number right now?
I don't have it in front of me right now, but what I do have in front of me right now that points to Carson Wentz starting at least one of these games is that the Buffalo Bills are plus 155 on the FanDuel Sportsbook to finish with the AFC's number one overall seed. That tells me that the book is expecting Mahomes to sit at least one, maybe two Chiefs losses in the next couple of weeks.
KC plus 2.5 right now.
Right. Kansas City is a 2.5 point underdog. The last time we saw Kansas City as a 2.5 point underdog, their one loss of this season against Buffalo, a game that they did not even come close to covering and losing by double digits.
I'll take KC plus 2.5, even with Carson Wentz.
With Carson Wentz,
yes,
now that is an interesting decision.
I would.
I
think they find a way to win. Again, they've done it all year. They find a way to win in this spot. I just, and a lot of that also has to do with me not believing that much in the Texans, which if people have watched the show, they know I have not been a huge believer in the Texans. So, but I'd take Kansas City.
I'd take Kansas City team total under 19.5. That's what it's sitting at right now. Do we really think Carson Wentz is going to put up 20 points when the Chiefs offense hasn't scored 30 all year with the best quarterback of the generation, according to some? That seems like an easy number to me. I'd even think about the under in the game at 39.5, Jason.
I would too.
Like that.
I would too.
It also. Yeah. Do you see 40 points in a game that has Carson Wentz starting?
Yeah.
This isn't the 2017 Eagles.
Geno Smith injured in a win against the Chargers. Or I'm sorry, a loss against the Packers? Loss against the Packers? Yeah, loss against the Packers. So he suffered a knee injury in that game. Sam Howell came in. But the good news is he should suit up when Seattle takes on the Vikings this Sunday, and we'll see. I mean, it's a game. Obviously, they're going to need. So we'll see what happens with Geno.
And again, with these kind of things, I like to use the sports books because they generally tend to know better about who's going to play or not. Seahawks getting 3.5 at home against the Vikings. Yeah, they think Geno Smith is going to play and play that entire game. And I'll still take the Vikings in that one.
Yeah, Rams sitting pretty right now. When you sort of look at where that division is and what the final few games of the regular season still has in store. Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks for the Rams over the final three. And if you're talking about the Seahawks over the final three, obviously the Vikings this week, the Bears, and the Rams. So we will see how that shakes down. All right.
Is that Rams-Seahawks game week 18, is that in Seattle?
That is, I have it right in front of me. That is in Los Angeles.
Yep. That's perfect.
That is in Los Angeles. Dan Campbell, a guest this morning, and another team facing injuries, even a couple more injuries for them. Dan Campbell this morning, on Tuesday morning, 97.1 FM in Detroit.
What happens is, you win 11 in a row.
Works better if I get to finish my intro first. Thank you. Dan Campbell asked about all the adversity the Lions are facing. Take a listen.
What happens is, you win 11 in a row, and you lose, and then the sky falls. And I hate to say it, but we're not going to be able to win 11 in a row again for the rest of this season. We're just not going to be able to do it. And, what happens is you get used to eating filet, and I'm talking to all of us. And well, everything's good, life's good, but you forgot what it was like when you had nothing and you ate your molded bread, and it was just fine, and it gave you everything you needed. And sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth and remember what it used to be like to really appreciate where you are, and we'll do that. And so we got a bad taste in our mouth. We got kicked around the other day. We lost a few guys, and you know what? It's exactly what we needed. This is exactly what we needed. So we're going to bounce back. We're going to respond. We got guys that are about to have an unbelievable opportunity here, and we will play the game any way needed to win. We still got a good offense. We got plenty of defensive players. I can go rattle them off right now. We're going to put the best 11 on the field. We're going to freaking cut it loose. We're going to play with our special teams. And I don't give a crap if we got to win by 1 point for the rest of the year. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be happy about it. We come out of the game with 50 yards of total offense and we win by 1, you're going to see smiles on my face. I promise you. All right? If it's the other way defensively, we give up 700 yards and we win by 1 point, you're going to see a smile from my ear to ear. All right? I can promise you. So we're going to find a way and we're going to get it done.
Wow. Dan Campbell being Dan Campbell, ladies and gentlemen. Look, in the closing seconds here, I think this stuff is laughable. I really do. He could try and put a positive spin all he wants. And look, he's got to keep those guys fired up in the locker room. He's got to keep them trying to think positive. I get that. That message, and I say this all the time. Coaches aren't talking to us. They're not talking to these two dopey hosts who are going, oh my God, he just swore on our airwaves. He's talking to his players. That whole spiel he just gave right there, he's talking to his players, Sam. Plain and simple. But that team is in a world of hurt, literally and physically right now.
You're right. He's definitely talking to his players. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'm not ready to give up on the whole Dan Campbell thing yet.
I'm done.
I think he's got a chance to turn that locker room around. Look what they've done so far to this point.
I wouldn't pick them to go to the Super Bowl right now. Tell you that right now. Eagles, Eagles, Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. I'm on the bandwagon. We're coming back. Welcome back to the show. Coming up in 10 minutes, something to consider. Fool me once, shame on me. Or no, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Is that what it is, Sam? I can never remember. I just know you can't get fooled again. Well, this one kind of popped up on me yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought about this a lot yesterday. Especially there were a lot of Atlanta fans in town. I had to go over to the Durango Stations Casino here in Las Vegas. to cash a ticket that I forgot to cash on Sunday. And a lot of Falcon fans here for the Raiders-Falcons tilt on Monday night. And I was talking to some of them in the sports book at Stations Durango about this idea of Michael Vick potentially becoming a college head coach. Now, obviously, if you're a huge Falcons fan and you're a Michael Vick fan, you're going to probably lean towards, yeah, well, you should get another opportunity. You should get a shot. So for people that don't know the story, Michael Vick is being considered and spoke with Sacramento State, which is looking to move into FBS, the highest tier of college football. For those that don't know, there's FBS, FCS, Division II, Division III, so on. Michael Vick is being discussed as a potential head coaching candidate at Sacramento State, which, by the way, true story, I once called a UFL game for the Hartford Colonials against the Sacramento Monarchs I think they were the Sacramento Monarchs, at that dilapidated stadium they have there in Sacramento. So they're talking about it. Somebody said, I don't know if it was Adam Schefter that reported they had $50 million in NIL money at Sacramento State. Who the hell gave them $50 million? Can I get just a sliver of that? Who's giving Sacramento State $50 million in NIL money? They're not even FBS yet, Sam. I don't understand it. But let me just say, the idea of Michael Vick becoming a head coach. Look, I know I'm probably going to be in the minority on this. I am a dog owner. I can forgive. I think people have the opportunity to right their wrongs. He served, I think, 21 months in prison in 2007. Came back, got another shot in the league, and I think he's done everything he can to make this right. I just can't, because I'm a dog owner and I've been a dog owner my whole life. There's some things I can't get past. I think other people will be able to get past it. I think Sacramento State could. There's talk about Norfolk State, him potentially becoming a head coaching candidate there, already is. He's going to coach somewhere. I don't know where, but he's going to get an opportunity somewhere. It just isn't for me.
Yeah, you said the most important part there at the end. He will be a college football head coach next season. Now, he does have the offer, as you alluded to, from Norfolk State, and that was actually the first offer that was put out there and reported by a small publication out of Norfolk. And then came the Sacramento State offer. Now, the Sacramento State story is interesting because this is where things get hairy. The Sacramento State offer, to my understanding, has elevator clauses within it that give Sacramento State $50 million in NIL commitments over a period of years once they are accepted into the FBS. As of right now, they have like $1 million in NIL money. Now, this story gets funny when Adam Schefter reports that elevator clause, and Doug Gottlieb, a college basketball coach in northern Wisconsin, who also happens to continue to host his Doug Gottlieb show, responds to Adam Schefter and says, now listen, Shefty, there's no chance that Sacramento State has $50 million in NIL because the University of Green Bay, Wisconsin, or Wisconsin Green Bay, or whatever the hell it is, doesn't have 1/10, 1/15, 1/200th of what Michael Vick is about to walk into. Then Adam Schefter, obviously, as everyone's seen by now, responds to Doug Gottlieb saying, Doug, 17th place in the Horizon League right now? Maybe you should spend some more time in the practice gym than talking about other people's NIL deals. And that really was the crux of this whole story to me. Michael Vick is going to be a college football coach at a college program that means nothing and does not move the needle at all whatsoever. And yeah, maybe he'll get lucky like Deion Sanders did, and he'll take a Jackson State level program, give him use the name that he already has for himself, and buy his way into a larger program. That's definitely on the table. It's not a conversation we can have right now. The guy hasn't even let the ink dry on the contracts that he's been offered between two different no-name non-FBS schools. So like, as much as we can sit here and say that, oh, this could be the beginning of the coaching trajectory for Michael Vick, and oh, he's going to turn into the next Deion. My goodness. We're talking about Norfolk State and Sacramento State right now, people. It's far from that.
I got to tell you though, I think he has a shot. Because this is a guy, we talk about what Michael Vick was, and again, take all the stuff aside my personal feelings on this. Think about what Michael Vick was when he came into the NFL and what he was by the time he left the NFL and how he sort of reinvented himself in his second go-around with the Eagles. If there's a guy that I think understands football and sort of gets it and, was one of these types of quarterbacks before you started to see these quarterbacks popping up everywhere around college football and in the NFL, it's Michael Vick. I think he's got a shot. I think he's got a shot to be a successful head coach. Just saying, I think I would not put it past him to be a successful, football head coach.
I won't disagree with you at all on that, but I do think that December 17th of the season before his first, a little too early.
Oh, I agree. But I'll be anxious to see what he does if and when he gets the opportunity. All right, something to consider. We got fooled once. We all gonna get fooled again? Welcome back to the show. Something to consider coming up here in a second. Odds and ends in 10 minutes. Aaron Rodgers documentary drops on Netflix today. There's only one way that I would watch the 3-episode documentary. And it came to fruition. I'll tell you about it coming up. Sammy Arnell, something to consider. We all got hoodwinked and watched Jake Paul take on Mike Tyson in Dallas on a Netflix mess of a broadcast. Now it's Logan Paul, the WWE wrestler, who reportedly will fight Conor McGregor in India. I'd be curious to... Are people going to buy into this again? Different Paul, one that doesn't have the boxing experience of Jake Paul, getting in the ring with Conor McGregor, who we obviously saw get in the ring and box against Floyd Mayweather, which he held his own. I remember I was watching that fight in San Francisco. What do you make of the fact that this fight seems to be the next big celebrity, I don't know, boxing sort of extravaganza, and this time it involves the WWE star? We gotta put something out there really quick just to be clear for the viewers. Floyd Mayweather dominated Conor McGregor in a boxing ring. Yeah. That fight was never close, and Floyd was giving up like 3 years in age at the time too, maybe more than that. I think it was more.
That was an embarrassment to the sport of boxing. That put Mayweather Pacquiao in a completely different context. Like so much more appreciation when that was his next fight, and that I think is a key here. You're taking the brother of someone who recently established themselves as maybe the biggest fraudster in combat sports in Jake Paul, robbing people of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to fight a 65-year-old. Now you're combining his twin older brother. I say twin because, you put him in a lineup. Can you tell the two apart? I can't. Who has a much more questionable history overseas, let's just say. So now we're going to put him overseas with another very notorious fraudster late in his career in the combat sports world. I'm talking about a Conor McGregor who has used his MMA career to push out a whiskey brand, to push out another MMA brand, and another MMA brand after that. I'm looking at you, BKFC. Listen, at the end of the day, this is screaming, not yelling, not whispering, not saying. This is screaming fraud. This is screaming, I'm just trying to take your money So honestly, if you're going to go watch it, more power to you, but I hope you understand that the only reason they're doing this is to take your money, not for you to watch any good combat sport.
Taking what I feel about Logan Paul aside personally, I will tell you this because I know you don't watch WWE. I don't watch it regularly. I watch it, here and there for big pay-per-views and things like that. I watched Saturday night's main event this weekend on NBC.
That was fun. That was a fun one.
Well, it was a lot more fun for me because I remember watching the original Saturday night's main event, and they did so many callbacks to it that I was tickled. I really, I had goosebumps watching it because they really hit it out of the park from a production standpoint. That being said, let me just get to this real quick. Logan Paul's a terrific wrestler. I mean, and there is no escaping that. No matter what you think of him personally, he is born to be a WWE superstar. He's got the heel thing down. He's as much of a heel as he is. He's got a little bit of baby face in him. Some of the fans love sort of his heel nature. His athleticism. I can't say this about Jake Paul, who I've just seen in a boxing ring, throwing haymakers at 60-year-old men. Logan Paul is a terrific wrestler and a phenomenal athlete. There is no getting around that. I don't know why, other than the money grab that you mentioned, Sam. I don't get this. I don't get this for his brand being a good thing. He's got it made with WWE right now. He gets to wrestle as much or as little as he wants. He doesn't have to be out there laying it on the line every single week like a lot of those wrestlers do. I don't understand again, take the personal aside. From a professional standpoint, from a career move standpoint, it has to be a money grab because there's so many reasons that this makes no sense professionally for him.
Because here's why. His career, as much as we want to talk about it as an athlete or a wrestler, or an actor even, it's none of that. He's a businessman. And what he's doing is using an opportunity to cash grab, gain a ton of capital, and then start another business. It's exactly what happened with Prime.
Wash, rinse,
exactly
repeat.
what happened with Better, BETR. For those of you who aren't aware, this is their MO. This is their modus operandi. This is what they do. They grab cash, they start a business, they sell a bunch of stuff to 13-year-olds, and by the time those 13-year-olds are 17 and understand who the Paul brothers are, they realize they need to do another cash grab to start another
for the next
business
round of
to target 13-year-olds.
Hey, it makes us wonder, why didn't we think of that, Sam? Odds and ends are next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Tomorrow, Sam is off, which means there will be a ton of guests. A lot of folks chipping in. Kurt Heelan will be here to recap the NBA Cup, which we'll get to here in just a second. Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, YouTube podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it, we are on all of them. As is the Sports Wrap with Jason Page Substack. Go and check that out. Subscribe today on Substack. Extended clips from the show, insider betting picks, you name it, all there for you on Substack. All right, Sam Yarnell, without any further delay, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, boy, like to be Asia Wilson's friend. She's getting a huge deal, big time endorsement money coming for the world champion and MVP twice over, Sam Yarnell. How much money is she getting and who's giving it to her?
They don't have the exact report on the dollars figure, but it is a 6-year extension with Nike. Obviously, she's been with Nike, I believe, her whole career. It's a 6-year extension with Nike. and it gives her one of the highest endorsement deals in the history of the WNBA, one of the largest shoe deals in the history of the WNBA. So Asia One's coming to a sporting goods store near you soon.
Would you buy would you be one of those guys that would wear a W? Do you wear jerseys?
Not basketball jerseys, no.
No. I'm just curious if you would be like, would you be okay, comfortable enough in your own skin if you did wear jerseys to wear a WNBA jersey?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah, of course. Oh my God, a Caitlin Clark a Caitlin Clark Iowa jersey is drip.
What? I'm old. What is drip? What is drip?
That just means like it's fashionable. It is
drip?
a hot commodity in terms of garments.
It's not sus. It's not sus. No.
No.
I'm so old.
Yes.
I bowled with somebody last night that was 21 years old. He said I was born in 2003, and I almost cried. NBA Cup tonight, Sam. We've got the Thunder and the Bucks in Las Vegas. Give me the Bucks getting 5 tonight.
I'll probably take the Thunder just because I like the youth of that team. I don't know. We know Giannis's history when it comes to playoff scenarios, right? That said, I took a flyer on Giannis and Shea each to have a triple-double. Parlay it, play them separately. I don't know, whatever you want to do.
How much does it pay?
The parlay pays better than 500 to 1.
Not bad.
It's a crazy price.
Yeah, but it's fun.
It's
for a unit,
that sense to make a lot of dollars.
Half unit.
Not even. Oh my gosh. What do I look like? My gosh, I'm not burning money.
A unit for you is like $5. So I mean, it's okay.
I definitely wouldn't.
All right. Fair enough.
I definitely wouldn't make a substantial wager on this game. It doesn't feel like. All right. Doesn't feel very predictable.
All right. Greg Popovich putting out a statement yesterday. Good to hear he will be back on the sidelines hopefully soon. Not shocking that he admits he is a terrible patient, but hopefully we'll get Greg Popovich back on the sidelines soon for a Spurs team that is certainly in the mix in the West. Last but not least, Sam Yarnell, the Aaron Rodgers Netflix documentary Enigma is out today. The only way I would watch it, Sam, is if somebody paid me, and that's exactly what happened. Because I got to write a column. I've been commissioned to write a column for MSNBC. So I have to watch the 3 hour, or I don't know how long each episode is, but it's 3 episodes, and I will be watching only because I'm getting paid to do so. Will you watch?
During college bowl season, probably not, but like maybe if there's nothing else to do. I don't know. It's not something that to me screams like appointment viewing. It's no Tiger King, if you catch my drift. Listen, I think that we spoke about this on the show a couple of weeks ago. This documentary was clearly mismanaged. It is very obvious that the lack of ball knowledge in that production room when production started, because production on these things starts a year ago, they were like, hey, we'll release it at the end of December. The Jets will be in the playoff race and Aaron Rodgers will be super relevant. We'll get a ton of views. Look what happened. Aaron Rodgers, one of the least relevant players in the NFL right now, begging, clawing, scratching, doing whatever he can, putting out false reports to try and get more press around him. You saw this with the Rossini report a couple of weeks ago with regard to what was going on inside that front office, whether or not they wanted Rodgers back. It was all a ploy to try to get people to watch this. It's really sad that this is the point that Aaron Rodgers' career has come to, that he has to put things out in the media just to get attention back on his name. But quite frankly, his skill has left him at this point in his career, and that's where we're at. So no, I don't think I'll be watching.
I will tell you. And I said this a week or two ago when this story came out about this documentary. It's about trying to rewrite the narrative for him. For a guy that does not care, supposedly, for a guy that likes to tell all of you that he does not care what people think, this documentary is telling you Aaron Rodgers cares very much what you think. He wants you to like him. He needs you to like him. I'm interested to see some of the injury rehab stuff the work behind the scenes on that. It's going to do it for us. Sam, thank you, my friend. Enjoy your Wednesday. I'll see you back here on Thursday. We're back with you tomorrow for more Sports Wrap. See you then.